Hey friends, listen, we need to talk mostly about how amazing all of you subscribers are. So last week I made a Learn to Play series video on my bruiser, and a lot of it was about how I wasn't doing very well in wars. And you have to realize that, you know, when you're putting out videos like this, like I'm getting a lot of people commenting to me in games saying they really like the videos and, you know, they've learned a lot. And so you start to get like this, you start to get sort of like, oh God, maybe people think that I'm better than I am. And so it's a little bit nerve-wracking putting up a war video where basically you're doing shit because you worry that you're basically exposing yourself, and then people are going to be like, oh my God, this guy's rubbish, and unsubscribe and tell you that you're rubbish and all that kind of stuff. Like, you feel like you're letting people down. But anyway, I felt like the point of this channel was to be a little bit more honest and revealing and sort of show what when I suck as well. So I did the war video, and the amount of comments I got from everyone was just amazing. Like, yeah, like it was really like warmed my heart. No, but it was really cool. Like, just I got like 15 comments, and it was just really a big deal for me. Also got a lot of subscribers too, which is awesome. So it's like, who knew that just admitting that you're crap actually results in people liking you more. But anyway, I just wanted to say, on a serious note, thank you very much. It meant a lot, and it's just nice that I can be honest, and it's nice that people out there appreciate the honesty, so thank you. Now, this is a funny one. You know, I've been fighting. If you're fighting someone and you've died to them like almost 2 or 3 times, and the whole time you're just like running away, and it's a 1v2, and then your friend is the one that kills them, don't do this. Don't come and teabag and then let their dots kill you. Oh, that is so... Anyway, so on a positive note though, I feel like New World is starting to, I don't know, I feel like there's been a bit of a momentum shift. I've seen a lot more low levels running around, and like, I feel like this next patch is going to be good. I feel like the game's kind of coming back. So, yeah, this little thing I've been doing is every time I see a low level, to encourage them and just to help them through the hard times, I just go up to them randomly, trade with them, and give them 1,000 gold. And then I get to feel good about myself, and just sort of spreading a little bit of good in the world. So, yeah, see, maybe do the same. Spread the love to these low levels to get this game pumping. Okay, so as you can probably tell from the video and the gameplay, that this week is not playing Bruiser, it's playing Mage. Now, I've gone over the reasons why I like playing Mage before, so I'll quickly do it again. But yeah, I am having a bit of a weapon identity crisis at the moment. I think I just like Mage because I can do everything with it. Like, mages are good in duels, they're good in arena, they're good in OPR, and namely, they're good in wars. When I've done wars before in the Mage, I've always done really well, and I've always been able to really contribute to the team, do a lot of damage, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, and also just, you know, doing well in OPRs, it's just less stressful. Like, I just don't really die that often, and I do a lot, you know, and I contribute much more to the team than I think I do on the Bruiser. Like, Bruiser's a bit rough when you're playing it going into OPRs solo. I mean, maybe if you go on one of those real kitey light armor builds, it's so good, but I just feel like Mage is so much more effective, so I'm a bit more in a Mage mood at the moment. But the other thing, which is a lot more of a reason, is that I just kind of have this built-in coward mode, and it activates every time the closer I get to an enemy, the higher it pings. So, like, it feels like when I'm doing melee and I jump into a fight, it's like I'm putting my hand close to the fire. And the more in the fight I am, the closer my hand is to the fire. And every fiber, every nerve in my body just wants to pull away. And so that makes me a really good mage, because I'm really good at kiting and keeping myself out of trouble. But for a bruiser, I don't know, I'm very kitey. Like, even I was fighting OG, one of my guildies the other day, and he was just saying, you're one of the kitiest bruisers I've ever fought against, and it's just this built-in card mode, and I just don't think it's ever going to change. I think it's just in my head. Like, I am, you know, it's just how I play, it's just how I roll. And so even though I play a bruiser, I just don't think I'll ever be as good as if I'm playing something like a Mage where being able to do that is actually effective. So hopefully in this video I'm going to go over a few things and show you that. So here's an example right here. So I get this spear guy that comes and gets on top of me, and so I'm able to kite him out on my Mage really effectively. The Mage has a lot of tools to do that, but I also kite him into my teammates, so now I'm not the only one having to fight him. And this is one of the things I like about the Mage, is you're able to play these mind games with people. So now if he wants to attack me, he's attacking me and 3 other people, and then his teammate comes to help, and then we kill him off as well. So it's just little things like that, like the ability to kite on the Mage to play mind games with people. Love it. Here's another classic example of that. So here we've got bad boy Worm DI, who's like obviously, you know, playing that hatchet sword and sword, big bursty damage that's gonna kill you. I've got some bow people trying to fire at me from the distance, and my health is very low. But you know, on the Mage I'm able to kite him out and basically into my teammates, and then because he was just so hungry, he chased me right into them, and then I end up killing him. And it's just little games like that that I appreciate. And then of course there's the trolley steal the Baron from their team, which I also really like I do here. So bow PR, as it's currently referred to, can be very rough with the amount of people on bows these days, as you're about to see here. Yeah, exactly. Like, what in the hell? Here it is again in slow motion. Just get hit by like 3 arrows all at once, and then just end up blimmin' on the carpet, face in the sand. Game over. So the only answer to that, and it's sort of an obvious one, but you just have to be really conscious of it at all times, is to always be using line of sight and always making sure you've got an obstacle to hide behind. So here you can see I start getting attacked by a bow person, and I know that we're getting outnumbered, so I decide to kind of hop off. You can see I run around that rock so that I've still got that line of sight to hide behind. Now I'm running behind the tree, so I'm putting myself behind obstacles, so I'm kind of making it hard for any ranged person to hit me. You can see that the musket person and the bow person have been trying to attack me, but I think I sort of created situations where I wasn't going to be the one getting hit by it. And also the other thing is, make sure you position yourself behind team members where like they can't hit you because your team members are in your way. But you can see here I kind of seek my revenge on that musket person. Okay, so I did some testing. And this is something that I can really do on Mage quite easily, which would be hard to do on Bruiser, so this is kind of like a fun thing. I did some testing on what was better in OPRs, and so by default, Wars would probably be true too, between Flamethrower and Pillar of Fire. And so what I did was I did 10 OPRs on the Pillar of Fire and 10 OPRs on Flamethrower. And then I basically looked at the rankings after each fight. I didn't want to do damage because sometimes you'll have long OPRs and when you'll get like 1,000,000 damage, and then sometimes you'll have shorter OPRs where you only do 500k damage. So I didn't want the results to be biased by just because I happen to have a couple of long OPRs. So by comparing myself with my teammates, then I feel like that takes into account, it doesn't really matter how much damage you do, because you're sort of just looking at your placement amongst other team members. And of course, sometimes you're going to have good team members and sometimes you're going to have bad ones, but I did it over a few days, and I mixed up when I was using the Pillar of Fire and when I was using Flamethrower, and it's all sort of relative. Like if you do it multiple times, then it should balance itself out in terms of like sometimes you'll have good ones, sometimes you'll have bad ones on each of the skills. And so I also just tried to I just tried to stick with the group and do damage. I didn't try to do any like skirmishing or 1v1s because I just wanted to make it as consistent as possible, just to see if there was any difference between Pillar of Fire and Flamethrower. And so in terms of how that worked out, with the Flamethrower, on average, so across the 10 OPRs I did with the Flamethrower, on average my placing was second. And with the Pillar of Fire, on average my placing was third. So I don't think you can read too much into that. Interestingly, I could actually see my improvement as I got back into Mage mode. So for the first 5 OPRs, my average position in the group was 4th, and then in the last 5 OPRs, my average position was 2nd. So I could sort of see that I was improving over time. So that was kind of cool. But my qualitative assessment was that Flamethrower was actually better. Flamethrower, you get more kills. It just has higher burst, and so if you can get up in their face, you can just burst them down and do more damage, and then as a result of that, you get more kills. However, that is more high risk, high reward, because you're sort of placing yourself up close. It does mean that you're going to die more, which is also another thing I noticed. So you're more, but you just have to be really, really conscious of what's going on around you when you're using Flamethrower, more so than if you're using Pillar of Fire. But the reward is that you'll get more kills if you do so. But luckily, having done some fights on Bruiser and Melee, I'm doing things that I probably would never have done before on the Mage, which is like, you know, using those healing circles a lot more than I would normally if you were just sort of playing a Mage and hadn't played a Bruiser. And so you can really, really stay alive really well. You can see in this video how I'm really using the healing circles just to keep myself up. So I'm really able to get in people's faces, put the Flamethrower on people, and just stay up essentially in the fight for a really, really long time, like really be in their face, because I'm using those kind of melee tactics, which is, you know, like making sure that you're always standing in the heals. But why can't that work for Mage as well? Because I can be doing Flamethrower on people and applying a lot of burst in that respect, which you're seeing in this video. And so this is a good example here of applying some of that burst from the Flamethrower on this bow person that doesn't even see me walk up behind them, and it just applies so much pressure, but it also, they just kind of freak out as soon as you put Flamethrower on them. So yeah, I'm able to burst them down and just finish them off because of that Flamethrower, which, yeah, it just sort of, that just sort of shows how it applies that burst, which I really like. So yeah, skirmishing is quite fun on the Flamethrower. This is a good little 2v2 we had. We ended up actually killing them repeatedly, which is always kind of a bit of fun. So they come out and start to fight us, and yeah, just sort of applying the pressure. I'm using Flamethrower here, but they get a lot of damage on me, so I'm getting a little bit more kitey because they start to focus me. So I'm sort of kiting them out while my teammate Leos is trying to finish them off. So I duck behind here, and then Leos actually kills one of them. So then it just becomes a 2v1. But then the surprise happens where Leos actually completely lags out, and then, so that's fine. At the moment it becomes a 1v1, but then his friend respawns and comes out and tries to fight me, and then they kind of get me into a bit of a heal deficit, so it just ends up with me kiting them the whole time, waiting for him to kind of like reconnect essentially. But yeah, so I'm just going to fast forward the bit here, because essentially this is just me, you know, kiting them out, trying to stay alive for him while he reconnects to the game.
I'm like 10 seconds away.
Okay, and then he finally comes back, so the fight can resume because the pressure gets off me a little bit. And then, of course, because he's now damaging them, they have to sort of take care of themselves. They can't go full attack. So then that gives me that little bit of reprieve, and then I start applying my CCs to them. I get a good fireball here after we finish them off, and then it's back to this swordboard hatchet guy again, who's definitely pretty keen to finish me off, but it's pretty easy at this point because it's a 2v1, so then we kill him. So they show up a few more times to try to fight us. So it's quite cool. We had like these 2v2s, but yeah, we just ended up killing them, but it was a cool fight. We had fun, so hopefully they did too. So I'll just finish that off, and then we'll go into the duels.
Nice, good job. I was just going to stand a lot by this fucking sword and shield there.
All right, and so with that, we had that cool little fight. So Leos has just picked up the bow and I've picked up the fire staff. So our aim is a little terrible. So something that we've been doing every day is like we've just been dueling where we don't really sort of try to kill each other. We just sort of light and heavy attack at each other, which has sort of turned into a bit of duels where we just practice fight each other so we can start improving our aim. But you can see here, like, my aim was already starting to improve after a few days of that. You can see in this duel here that my aim is actually pretty on fire in this duel. So I know it's going to take a long-ass time. It's not going to be something that just happens within a week where I'm suddenly good at aiming. But I can already sort of see the gradual improvement starting to kick in. I think Leos's aim is improving faster than mine, but that's okay. I'm good at getting the AoEs off, so it all sort of balances itself out in the end. And then that helps when I actually fight actual bow people in the in actual duels. I've just picked up little tactics where I fought against Leos, because with Mage against bow, I think the key is to wait for them to attack and then fire your attack, because if you start to try to fire at them, then they're just going to hit you, and they hit you way harder than you can hit them, so it's just a fool's errand. And so what I basically try to do when I'm fighting bow people is I try to sort of kite around and move around and wait for them to try to attack me first, and then once they go for their attack, that's when I get my AoE on them, or I try to fire my attacks off on them. So that's the thing that I've been finding helps me with the bow. Yeah, so you want to be patient, draw out the fight, you're in no rush, just keep running around, try to make them miss as many shots as possible, and then get those pot shots in. But to complement those pot shots, you definitely want to be landing your AoEs off on them as well, because that's where a lot of your pressure is going to come from, a lot of your burst. So the main two are making sure that your Fireball lands and also your Ice Storm lands on them. If you can get them off, you're going to be putting them under a lot of pressure, so that helps. With melee, it's a lot easier, especially if you've got Flamethrower. You've got this nice little sweet spot. Because you've got a quite good range on that Flamethrower, you can attack them a little bit further away than they can start swinging. So there's kind of like this fine sweet spot where you can put a Flamethrower on them and start to apply the burns and some pressure on them, and they can't actually hit you, and then you just got to wait for them to get that little bit closer and then dodge out, which is exactly what you saw there. So basically, yeah, so fighting me is a little bit easier. You just kite them out. So you can see I'm doing the Flamethrower. He comes in, and then I dodge back before he can actually get an attack on me. And you can just see, just doing that, you just wear them down melee. Don't let them get close. Mage is king of kiting melee, so it's really good. The one matchups you probably want to be a little bit careful about is when the melee are in light armor, because they can chase you down pretty quickly. So you just want to be making sure that you're using your CCs and your kiting just to make sure that you keep that distance. Again, just keeping them out of that sweet spot where you want to let them just there where you see that. I let him get just close enough to get his attack, but I'm just watching for his attack, and then I just dodge back out of it. And just getting in those Flamethrowers when I can to apply that pressure and just wear them down slowly over time. So, yeah.
This has to be it.
Alright, so I had an OPR the other day which ended up being really, really close. And so I thought I'd just go through the OPR, maybe talk about some of the tactics that I'm using at key moments, and just sort of show key moments in the OPR. People seemed to like it last week. If you like this content, this sort of run through of the OPRs, let me know. Because it's kind of easy to do, you know, just pick an interesting OPR and then just do a commentary over it. But if you find it kind of a bit boring, also let me know, so I know not to stop doing it. I actually thought this video was going to be a little short today, so my plan was to go over the OPR, but I'm just looking at the time, I'm already at like 19 minutes, so this is going to be probably my longest video yet. But anyway, so it's just started. They're at 235 points, we're at 149, and they're controlling mid, so at the moment we're in trouble. And so I'm just kind of standing outside the doors trying to apply pressure, and now they're pushing out, so we're in a little bit of a, we're getting pushed back. So at this point, I'm kind of thinking, okay, like, this is going to be one of those, you know, OPRs where they just dominate us and lose. But yeah, I'm just trying to stay here and apply pressure in mid. So they push out, but we're able to hold them, lock them down so they don't push too far. The problem with the doing this, or at least the risk with doing this, is if when you're the opposing team and you push out too far, you kind of you sort of become weaker because you're not a tight ball anymore, and so that's often the moment where you can push back quite hard on them and get a wipe. And so we actually do push them back into the node. And I like to push really hard, so you can sort of see I try to rush in there, but then realize it's a little bit dangerous. So I kind of come out, but then a few more of our guys go in at that point. So then I just try to get into mid and just start trying to put all the damage onto the group just to apply pressure. So as a mage, I'm not really trying to get lots and lots of kills. I'm just trying to put as much pressure and damage on them as possible so that we can, kind of the bruisers can finish them off. But you can see that we just don't do that, and they actually end up kicking us back out of the node. And so we're back to square one, where we're attacking mid, and they're kind of pushing out on us. So we seem to be at a bit of a stalemate. But as you can see, some of our teammates have gone and started capping star. So now they're in a bit of a conundrum, because they're kind of barely holding mid, because we've pushed down hard on them twice and gotten in. And so now they're kind of left with that kind of key decision of, are they going to give up star and then let some people go down, or have some people go down and defend it, but then that weakens their mid defense, which might gives us the opportunity to actually go in and take it. So you can see that our blues are starting to push into mid now. I saw them on the left there. And so we're probably going to be putting a big pressure on mid to take it. But I can see that Baron is up, so obviously I leave the mid fight and the star fight, and I come down to Baron to see if we can take it. So as I come up to the Baron, I know that we are the ones coming into lots of reds, basically. So they've got lots of people there, and there's only a couple of us. So as I come in, I sort of try to get a fireball off. I realize it's getting low, so I'm like, okay, I've got one shot to get this. I put my dot down, so it's ticking away really quickly, and I actually managed to kill the Baron with those dots from the Ice Storm. So I was trying to do something that would tick quickly, so if I did get attacked by other team members, those dots going off quickly would hopefully get the Baron, which it ended up doing. So that was kind of awesome. So then I'm basically just hightailing it out of there. Feeling like I'm the champion that saved the day. So yeah, so at the moment the score is 273.89, but having snuck that Baron off us, we've now triple capped them, and then there's just a few of us that went down there and got the Baron, so that really helps with us winning the game. So I noticed that since we've triple capped them, there's not much else to do other than to fight them as they try to come back. So you kind of want to whittle down their numbers as much as possible. The only person to whittle is this guy who's actually in my guild, and so I finish him off, and then I go back to see where the fights are. So we actually end up pushing ahead and then getting the next Baron. So you can see here the score is now 545 to us and 395, so getting that last Baron definitely swung the momentum. But we're back at square one again, where they've now gotten control of the two nodes again, and they're controlling mid, and we're out here trying to sort of pressure them out of it. So yeah, history sort of repeating itself right now. So I'm coming in just to sort of have a look, because I definitely like being inside the node if I can be, to apply that pressure, but there's a lot of melee that get on me, and oh yeah, I'm sort of rolling in spot there, which isn't very nice. And so I am under a lot of pressure. I'm putting down those CCs to sort of get them off me, and yeah, do the smart move of kind of getting outside just to get a bit of reprieve and to get my health back up. But sort of the focus being on me a little bit there has allowed a lot of our blues to come in and really start applying a pressure back on them. So once it's safe, I come back in and then just try to finish the reds off. So there's a big group of reds trying to get in through the door, but I can see the blues are actually getting wiped. So I've kind of just come up with, this is like the best spot to stand when you're a mage, because you can't get hit on the outside by any bow people or muskets, but you're kind of out of the way where you can apply pressure. But I can see that we've wiped in the node, so I've come up to the top here so I can sort of jump off, which I do there when it's looking a little bit dangerous. And so then we just come around the other side and start applying the pressure again to sort of wait for the next push. So once again, we try to push ourselves back into mid. The interesting thing about this is I think we are playing smarter in this match, but they've definitely got the stronger team. Every time we've tried to have an engagement with them, they end up winning. So we are playing smarter by kind of dividing them up, but in a head-to-head competition, we tend to be losing. So you can see that I'd found my favorite little spot to just free fire at people, but it was getting a little bit hotter. I was the only person kind of in the node at that time, so it's obvious I'm going to become the next target. So I just come up to the top so that if anyone tries to rush me, I can just jump off. And I know this is useless, but I'm just trying to apply pressure to them. So I can now, once again, they're starting to push out front, and I can just apply a whole bunch of AoE pressure to them right here because no one's pressuring me at all. So I'm just completely safe to free fire at them. But they're pushing out even further, so I need to get out so I can kind of get attacks on their front lines a little bit. So yeah, just applying pressure. So at the moment they're trying to push out, and I'm just trying to put as much AoE damage into them as possible to stop that advance, so we can kind of push them back into the node and then go for another attempt. So you can see now our team's also just capped. They've just done the most stupidest thing where they've pushed right out and no one was in there to defend. This is kind of going back to that our team being smarter. So now they're having to push into the node, which we've just got off them. And now they're in the defensive position because they're coming into... They're basically sandwiched at the moment between our team coming down from, what is it, Moon, and our team that just pushed into Star and capped them. So yeah, this is kind of like a really, really interesting fight and our best chance yet. But once again, I'm just back at the top lines, firing down my AoEs, free firing. No one's bothering me, so it's good. But it looks like Reds are starting to take control. But lucky for us, a bunch more, some new recruits come in, some new blues come in, and so we're able to just keep fighting them, getting them off the node. And we actually end up pushing them back out. So this is kind of the first time where we've actually asserted dominance over them. That all comes down to the fact that they just overextended themselves out, and then the kind of momentum shifted in our favor. But yeah, now we have mid, so we're in a strong position of defending. I feel like it's always easier to defend a node than attack it. Largely because they have to funnel through a door and you can sort of block them from coming in. So, and speaking of that, I'm trying to put all my CCs on the door so that if any of them are trying to push in, they're going to get slowed and attacked, and it just allows everyone in there to put as much damage on them as possible. So yeah, I'm just kind of standing at the door, guarding that door, making sure that no one's going to come in, and the minute they try, I just apply as much AoE as possible. So then my teammate says some of them are trying to come in through the back door, so you can see I just put my pillar of fire on it to kind of blow them up as they come in, and yeah, there's a bit of a wash there. They kind of get wiped quite quickly. So yeah, we have this node pretty much under wraps at this point, so now they're kind of in the position we were in. So we hold them off for a little while, but you can see that their numbers are building up outside, so they start to try to push in. So what I do is I put down my ice curtain just to cut them off from getting in. And so that guy gets wiped that tries to do it, and you can see I'm putting the pillar of fire on the door. I'm just doing anything I can to make sure that they do not want to come walking through that door. I put down my ice storm, so it's just applying that pressure, keeping them out of the node, and just putting all that damage on the door. And it's amazing how kind of like, you know, that'll actually put a lot of people off coming in. So yeah, and it's just making sure that what I try to do is I try to break them up. So if they are coming in, I really try to get that ice curtain down so it kind of breaks them up into a dribble through the door as opposed to one big rush, because if they come in one big rush, that's when you're going to be at your biggest danger. And that's exactly what's happened here, is they've just all managed to rush in all at the same time. So now it's kind of even odds at the moment. So I come back to my little favorite spot so I can just free fire on them and just put them down as much AoE as possible to try to wear down those people that are in there. So they keep coming in, and I'm just constantly applying that pressure, but eventually we managed to hold the defense, and it's just a matter of this. I put a good AoE in there, applies a lot of pressure, and then we just sort of wipe out the last few until they have to leave. Okay, so at this point we start to push outside, and I can see a whole bunch of them clumped as they're fighting the brute. So I put all my AoE, I threw a pillar of fire, a fireball, and the ice shower all on top of them. It's just a hell of a lot of AoE damage just because they were all clumped together. And so we are just trying to wipe them out front. But Baron is also coming up, so there's a bit of pressure to get down there and make sure that we get that. Because at the moment, although the score is, we've definitely got the momentum now. We're at 820, and they're at 640. But yeah, them getting the Baron could shift the momentum back in the favor like it did for us. So here I'm just trying to kind of fire at people to slow their approach down to the Baron so that I can help our guys do as much damage to it as possible and then hopefully get it. So one of the things I like to do when I'm attacking the Baron is always make sure that I'm facing the outside so I can see when the enemies start to come in, because otherwise, you know, people can just come up behind you and get ganked. And so yeah, it's just a race against the time. I'm trying to do as many light attacks on it as possible to apply the burn dots, and then also trying to put my Ice Storm on it, although that's stuffed up, just to make sure that my dots are ticking on it, so it's a bigger chance of us getting the Baron, but we end up getting it anyway, which is good. Yeah, and so then once again, they have captured mid, and as our team comes back from the Baron, we come in to try to take it. Again, I'm just trying to get everybody, like, sometimes it's worth fighting people up there. I'm just trying to get them to jump off. I'm not necessarily trying to kill them, because, I mean, if they're jumping off the sides, then that's basically, you know, allows us to dominate control. Yeah, and so we get control of mid. So they start to build up on the outside, trying to push in. And so I just try to, we're just trying to sort of apply pressure to back them up a little bit, which seems to be working at this point, because they're getting sandwiched between us pushing out of mid and our guys that are pushing down from moon. So yeah, they're just kind of caught in the middle, which is going to be like pretty much instant wipe. And then I just they're all nicely clumped together, so I just put all my AoEs on them and help with wearing them down until they get wiped. So here I noticed that a group of them are pushing around from my left. And so again, I just want to make sure that they're not, like, to stop the flow from coming in off our guys. So I just sort of try to apply the pressure to the left to kind of push them back. And, you know, obviously our teammates will do the same thing. So we actually end up pushing them back out of that zone. And then I'm thinking, okay, time to get back into mid, because they're obviously going to start trying to push them through that door. So they never actually make it through our door because our guys will push them back. So I just want to, you know, keep that charge going. So once again, just applying a lot of AoEs on any clumps that I can find, just to add in that damage to sort of help push the group back. You can see this little group on the right that's trying to build up here. And so I don't want them wiping our group, because they could sort of come around the back of us and do a lot of damage. So I just sort of try to get here. Because it's amazing, like, even there's like lots of them, and well, at that point there was only me and a few others. Just by firing at them, you can apply a lot of pressure and just sort of make them back up. And so yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to apply a lot of pressure on their back lines, just to keep them kind of locked in place so that they don't want to get. But I've got to be careful not to overextend either. So this is where you see me sort of come back to the safety of our group, because otherwise I would have probably been asked to be getting wiped. And then, yeah, that's it. So that was the victory. Going through this again, it wasn't quite as intense as it was when I was in there. But, yeah, I mean, almost 900k damage. It wasn't too bad. So, yeah, kind of happy with that result. Anyway, that's it. Thanks, everyone, if you made it this far. It's my biggest video so far. But, yeah, just let me know what you think of the OPR commentary. Do you find it interesting, or is it a little bit boring? I'd love to know. Anyway, thanks everyone. Bye.